Welcome to Disaster Autist, or Matt, and welcome to the lockdown series.
Hello.
How are things in your end when it comes to the lockdown?
Uh, Not a lot changed for me, really. I was homebody kind of anyway. I'm immune suppressed, have been for 30 years now. So I've always minded very carefully, vigilantly about around other people, sick, immunized kids, that sort of thing. So this lockdown only meant that I go to the bookstore 3 times less a week, zero. Go to the library less a week, zero. And don't go get Mexican or Japanese food every other week or so.
Have you been doing any projects while in lockdown? Any projects in general? Any creative projects or technical projects?
I'm rather always busy, stuff to do, low boredom threshold. So, got to do stuff. Working on two scripts with a friend in Baltimore, film script, actually two, and a television pilot. Studying Spanish and Italian, reading a couple of books at the same time. I usually keep 3 to 5 books going at a time, about 50 pages a day each.
Ah,
Watching movies, watching documentaries, going over basic maths again, because, if you don't use the muscle very often, you think you remember, and then you get the problems in front of you, and you go, oh, I know what that means, but I don't know how to do it. And yard work.
keeping busy. A lot of people have been trying to study languages while they're cooped up.
I do often. I studied Spanish over the years. Back before there was a great, well, even a small population of Spanish speakers in the regional southeastern U.S. I was learning Spanish just because you had to in school. You had to do it. You had to do 4 years, and you had to take it was French, German, or Spanish. German sounds very angry and screaming. I cannot do the odd kind of soft palate
Yeah.
stuff, French. So Spanish was rather easy with my Latin background. And it's just fun. I also studied Swahili, Italian, Russian, Lojban, and Esperanto.
Ah, that's pretty cool. I do respect someone who likes to learn languages and such, and I can see the fun of it. For me, when it comes to learning a language, and then you watch something and you recognize that word and go, I know that word, and it's so much fun. It's like I used to do it a lot with Japanese. I've neglected Japanese for so long, so I only know words and phrases due to anime shows and stuff. But recent years, I've been more interested in German, and I'm having the same thing while looking in German subtitles and that. And I'm like, oh, I know that word, and I quite like the rough sounds because like the ach and all that, because I'm Scottish, so it works
That
for
makes a lot
me.
of sense. Makes perfect sense. Oh, and the German teacher in my high school said, if you want to terrify someone, yell "I love you" in German at them. Ich liebe dich, ich liebe dich. And it sounds like a Rammstein album.
It does. Well, one of the Rammstein albums is Liebe ist für alle da, which is love is for everyone. So so it's Liebe ist für alle da. There's also a track called that as well. It's one of my favourite songs. I am
I
quite fond of
remember
Rammstein, so
I remember when you could not get a Rammstein album in the US. They weren't for sale yet. And a friend of mine who was been in the US Army in the 80s bought one when he was stationed in Germany in like 80, 85, 86. That was his prized possession.
oh wow, that's very cool.
I'm old.
No,
I'm
no
very
worries.
old. I'm internet ancient.
To be fair, I wouldn't say I'm internet old. I think I'm internet veteran-ish. I'm a 90s kid, so I was
Uh,
there when it was pretty new, and I was there before all the memes appeared and stuff. So, and I've just
it,
recently turned
it,
30 as well. So
I turned 30 20 years ago.
I know I may seem young, but when I'm like surrounded by a lot of like 20-year-olds, I'm just like, oh, especially the ones that are just turned 20, I'm like, Oh my God, I'm getting, oh, it's scary.
You feel like you start going, oh, my hip hurts. Ow. Oh, my back. Oh, gosh.
Oh, mine has been
Get off
doing
my
that for a long time, so I'm used to it by now. I've got clicky joints, so.
Ehlers-Danlos, hypermobility.
Yes, yes, that's what I have. Speaking of endless downloads, have you tried any exercise routines or anything during the lockdown?
Oh, yeah. Less now because when I was younger, before I knew you weren't supposed to bend like that, uh, I was track and field, marching band, basketball, um, well, street basketball with the other kids, not the coach yelling at you stuff.
Yeah.
And bodybuilding. I love exercise and I like motion. That's just I like motion and I've got a very keen body sense. So I know when I'm injured, I know when I'm sick, I know when I can usually tell my blood pressure within 2 or 3 points, systolic and diastolic. Usually not off more than about 5 to 8 on my pulse rate. It's just, I have the experience because I'm old. I'm old. So, yeah, done this a long time. So yeah, I'm walking a ton, yard work. I don't like yard work, but it's movement, it's repetitive movement and doing stuff and not sitting still.
Yep.
There's a place for sitting still, but do too much of it and your joints seize up.
Totally. That's what I'm trying to do as well. A few previous episodes in the lockdown series, I've been mentioning how I'm trying to move around a lot more. For me, I'm actually what I'm trying to do before bed. I've noticed when I wake up in the morning, my body's all stiff, and even just by sitting all day, I've decided to do some stem dancing before bed because it lets me go and it's a good motivator. I try and do things that keep me motivated, even if it's like not a full workout routine, as long as it's movement and I get tired afterwards and my body feels nice and light afterwards. I've noticed it's every morning I wake up, I feel light, I don't feel stiff, although some muscles do hurt, but that's because I've done exercise, so which is good. It's like, oh, my back hurts, but it's a good pain, and that's what I like about analysing my body in general. It's like I can tell what the pain is. It's like, ow, what's wrong? I'm okay. I'm a okay pain. It's not a worrying pain, or oh, it's that kind of chest pain. It's weird to explain, but in my mind it makes sense because I'm the one experience it.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Now, do you have chronic pain?
I don't think I have chronic pain as such. I know someone who does. I think for me it's just I get pain when it happens. I get delayed pain. Sometimes if I do a lot of stuff and I don't realise I'm overexerting myself and I take a break, once I sit back up, I'm like, and that's, yeah, or it doesn't come, or if I do a lot of exercise, it doesn't come till like the next evening. It's like, oh, I feel fine, but in the evening, there we go. I'm quite lucky that I don't have as much of the chronic of pain yet. No, me, I probably, when I reach 40, I think everything's going to go downhill from there. I'm waiting on it.
Yeah, I started to get it in my 20s. Not much, just a little. And it's all osteoarthritis.
Yeah.
And cartilage degeneration. It's like people like, take these glucosamine and chondroitin, you regrow it. I'm like, you can't regrow it if there's nothing there to regrow.
Yeah.
And so at this point, I have the pain meter. They say 1 to 10. I use a 1 to 15.
Yeah.
And you get used to it. You get used to a certain amount of pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you notice the spikes. And they say 1 to 15. What's the worst pain you've ever had? 2 of them. I woke up one time after my knee replacement, and they hadn't given me any medicine at all. I just woke up about an hour and a half after surgery to the full feeling of the bone having been chopped, screwed into, beaten and pasted, and I just instantly began screaming.
Oh.
I've had to have dental work without anaesthetic
Mm.
because of medical reasons.
I've had that a few times.
It's a
I get
drag.
anaesthetic now, but at one point in my life I was stubborn. I used to get fillings all the time. And finally, any other comments or any advice for those autistics out there who are struggling with the lockdown?
I see a lot on Instagram and Twitter about people having difficulty, and I can relate to it all mentally. But me, to a lot of people, it's a new thing, the lockdown, the being in. And for me, that's just like but I've always done it. I mean, I didn't when I was little, but then I didn't have a transplant and immune problems and such. So for 30 years, semi lockdown is me.
Yeah.
Psychologically, I think I see a lot of folks that are like, I cannot do this. I cannot stand this. I cannot. Um, I understand where that comes from. Clinical depression background too, yay,
Mm.
And we also, as neurally atypical folks, also talk about, because we're rather bright, maybe not in those easily nicheable neurotypical ways, but I tend to think we have a greater capacity for neuroplasticity. And when we buckle down, us neurotypicals think that's wild.
Mm.
They think it's amazing. And we can apply that to this by, I mean, not to sound glib, but deciding to deal does not stop until we find the thing that works.
Yeah.
I would simply recommend people, especially younger, because that's most of who I see online in autism, of folks, teenagers, younger, up to the mid-20s, early 30s. From an old person, I wasn't diagnosed until I was 44. I was kind of trudging through blind. Use the positivism about ourselves that we use when we talk amongst ourselves about us, and less how we address the negatives, the stuff that's difficult when we talk to neurotypicals. Because I notice the conversations really switch to when we're talking with a fellow autistic, we're like, yeah, this stuff's awesome. I'm, superpower this. When we talk to neurotypicals, it's very often, I'm uncomfortable. I don't like the way you're behaving. I feel bad. You need to listen to me. I don't feel included. And those are two very different tones, and they affect the inner monologue that we have when we're faced with something that is out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
So I kind of think focus as much attention as you can on the stuff that you're good at, the patience, the ability to hyperfocus, that creativity, and the thinking outside of the box. Those are what get us through these things, the same way that they do if we're at a workplace or a school, or just trying to figure out something on our own, run about and be around people.
That's a good way to conclude it. Use our best qualities. That's what I'm currently trying to do to keep myself sane. And I actually went for a walk for the first time in a while. I just go to the shop, but I actually went for a little walk. There's a wee place nearby, so I'm not going far, and it's helped clear my mind a bit. So it's all good. But
I'm a big fan of nature walks, even if there's only a tiny bit of nature.
yeah, that's the thing. It's like it doesn't have to be like a huge forest. Even if it's just like a wee walk path with some trees and stuff. It just helps.
And a puppy, puppies and cats.
Yeah, definitely. If I see dogs or any cats, then that helps as well.
Instant mood lift.
Thank you very much for participating in the lockdown series. It was great having you here.
Thanks. Nice to be had here too.
No worries.